Welcome to Dawn Vibes Yoga. For today's Read With Me video, we're going to be reading out of the Upanishads again, and my cats are running around like mad, so please don't mind if you hear them or see them across the camera. Today we're going to be reading the first part of the Katha Upanishad out of this book, and if you'd like to read along, I have the exact translation in the description box below. There are 3 different characters speaking in this. Oh my goodness. They are being wild. I am so sorry. They are just crazy today. Anyway, so there are 3 characters talking. We have Nachiketa, a young boy. We have Yama, the god of death, and then also the narrator, which I call him a character just because I'm reading for their voice, but technically the narrator isn't really a character. If you haven't already, go pour yourself a cup of tea and then let's get started. The Katha Upanishad, Part 1. Once long ago, Vajrashravasa gave away his possessions to gain religious merit. He had a son named Nachiketa who, though only a boy, was full of faith in the scriptures. Nachiketa thought when the offerings were made, what merit can one obtain by giving away cows that are too old to give milk? To help his father understand this, Nachiketa said, "To whom will you offer me?" He asked this again and again. "To death I give you," said his father in anger. The son thought, "I go, the first of many who will die, in the midst of many who are dying, on a mission to Yama, king of death. See how it was with those who came before, how it will be with those who are living. Like corn, mortals ripen and fall. Like corn, they come up again." Nachiketa went to Yama's abode, but the king of death was not there. He waited 3 days. When Yama returned, he heard a voice say, "When a spiritual guest enters the home, like a bright flame, he must be received well, with water to wash his feet. Far from wise are those who are not hospitable to such a guest. They will lose all their hopes, their religious merit they have acquired, their sons, and their cat." Yama: "O spiritual guest, I grant you 3 boons to atone for the 3 inhospitable nights you have spent in my abode. Ask for 3 boons, 1 for each night." Nachiketa: "O king of death, as the first of these boons, grant that my father's anger be appeased, so he may recognize me when I return and receive me with love." Yama: "I grant that your father, the son of Udalaka and Aruna, will love you as in the past. When he sees you released from the jaws of death, he will sleep again with a mind at peace." Nachiketa: "There is no fear at all in heaven, for you are not there, neither old age nor death. Passing beyond hunger and thirst and pain, all rejoice in the kingdom of heaven. You know the fire sacrifice that leads to heaven, O king of death. I have full faith in you and ask for instruction. Let this be your second boon to me." Yama: "Yes, I do know, Nachiketa, and shall teach you the fire sacrifice that leads to heaven and sustains the world that knowledge concealed in the heart. Now listen." The narrator: "Then the king of death taught Nachiketa how to perform the fire sacrifice, how to erect the altar for worshipping the fire from which the universe evolves. When the boy repeated his instruction, the dread king of death was well pleased and said, 'Yama, let me give you a special boon. This sacrifice shall be called by your name, Nachiketa. Accept from me this many-hued chain, too. Those who have thrice performed this sacrifice realize their unity with father, mother, and teacher, and discharge the 3 duties of studying the scriptures, ritual worship, and giving alms to those in need. Rise above birth and death. Knowing the god of fire, born of Brahman, they attain perfect peace. Those who carry out this triple duty, conscious of its full meaning, will shake off the dread noose of death and transcend sorrow to enjoy the world of heaven. Thus have I granted you the second boon, Nachiketa, the secret of the fire that leads to heaven. It will have your name. Ask now, Nachiketa, for the 3rd boon." Nachiketa: "When a person dies, there arises this doubt. He still exists, say some. He does not, say others. I want you to teach me the truth. This is my 3rd boon." Yama: "This doubt haunted even the gods of old, for the secret of death is hard to know. Nachiketa, ask for some other boon, and release me from my promise." Nachiketa: "This doubt haunted even the gods of old, for it is hard to know, O death, as you say. I can have no greater teacher than you, and there is no boon equal to this." Yama: "Ask for sons and grandsons who will live 100 years. Ask for herds of cattle, elephants, and horses, gold and vast land, and ask to live as long as you desire. Or if you can think of anything more desirable, ask for that, with wealth and long life as well, Nachiketa. Be the ruler of a great kingdom, and I will give you the utmost capacity to enjoy the pleasure of life. Ask for beautiful women of loveliness rarely seen on earth, riding in chariots, skilled in music, to attend to you. But Nachiketa, don't ask me about the secret of death. Nachiketa, these pleasures last but until tomorrow, and they wear out the vital powers of life. How fleeting is all life on earth. Therefore, keep your horses and chariots, dancing and music for yourself. Never can mortals be made happy by wealth. How can we be desirous of wealth when we see your face and know we cannot live while you are here? This is the boon I choose and ask for you. Having approached an immortal like you, how can I, subject to old age and death, ever try to rejoice in a long life for the sake of the senses' fleeting pleasures? Dispel this doubt of mine, O King of Death. Does a person live after death, or does he not? Nachiketa asks for no other boon than the secret of this great mystery. Yama. The joy of the spirit ever abides, but not what seems pleasant to the senses. Both these, differing in their purpose, prompt us to action. All is well for those who choose the joy of the spirit, but they miss the goal of life who prefer the pleasant, perennial joy or passing pleasure. This is the choice one is to make always. Those who are wise recognize this, but not the ignorant. The first welcome that leads to abiding joy, though painful at the time. The latter run, goaded by their senses, after what seems immediate pleasure. Well have you renounced these passing pleasures so dear to the senses, Nachiketa, and turned your back on the way of the world that makes mankind forget the goal of life. Far apart are wisdom and ignorance. The first leads one to self-realization. The second makes one more and more estranged from one's real self. I regard you, Nachiketa, as worthy of instruction, for passing pleasures tempt you not at all. Ignorant of their ignorance, yet wise in their own esteem, those deluded men, proud of their vain learning, go around and around like the blind led by the blind. Far beyond their eyes, hypnotized by the world of sense, opens the way to immortality. I am my body. When my body dies, I die. Living in this superstition, they fall, life after life, under my sway. It is but few who hear about the self. Fewer still dedicate their lives to its realization. Wonderful is the one who speaks about the self. Rare are they who make it the supreme goal of their lives. Blessed are they who, though through an illumined teacher, attain to self-realization. The truth of the self cannot come through one who has not realized that he is the self. The intellect cannot reveal the self, beyond its duality of subject and object. Those who see themselves in all and all in them help others through spiritual osmosis to realize the self themselves. This awakening you have known comes not through logic and scholarship, but from close association with a realized teacher. Wise are you, Nachiketa, because you seek the self eternal. May we have more seekers like you. Nachiketa. I know that earthly treasures are transient, and never can I reach the eternal through them. Hence have I renounced all my desires for earthly treasures, to win the eternal through your instruction. Yama. I spread before your eyes, Nachiketa, the fulfillment of all worldly desires, power to dominate the earth, delights celestial gained through religious rites, miraculous powers beyond time and space. These with will and wisdom have you renounced. The wise, realizing through meditation the timeless self beyond all perception, hidden in the cave of the heart, leave pain and pleasure far behind. Those who know they are neither body nor mind, but the immemorial self, the divine principle of existence, find the source of all joy and live in joy abiding. I see the gates of joy are opening for you, Nachiketa. Nachiketa, teach me of that you see as beyond right and wrong, cause and effect, past and future. Yama, I will give you the word all the scriptures glorify, all spiritual disciplines express, to attain which aspirants lead a life of sense restraint and self-nodding. It is Om. This symbol of the Godhead is the highest. Realizing it, one finds complete fulfillment of all one's longings. It is of the greatest support to all seekers. When Om reverberates unceasingly within the heart, that one is indeed blessed and deeply loved as one who is the self. The all-knowing self was never born, nor will it die. Beyond cause and effect, this self is eternal and immutable. When the body dies, the self does not die. If the slayer believes that he can kill, or the slain believes that he can be killed, neither knows the truth. The eternal self slays not, nor is ever slain. Hidden in the heart of every creature exists the self, subtler than the subtlest, greater than the greatest. They go beyond all sorrow who extinguish their self-will, and behold the glory of the self through the grace of the Lord of love. Though one sits in meditation in a particular place, the self within can exercise his influence far away, though still he moves everything everywhere. When the wise realize the self, formless in the midst of forms, changeless in the midst of change, omnipresent and supreme, they go beyond sorrow. The self cannot be known through study of the scriptures, nor through the intellect, nor through hearing discourses about it. The self can be attained only by those whom the self chooses. Verily unto them does the self reveal himself. The self cannot be known by anyone who desists not from unrighteous ways, controls not the senses, stills not the mind, and practices not meditation. None else can know the omnipresent self, whose glory sweeps away the rituals of the priest and the prowess of the warrior, and puts death itself to death. In the secret cave of the heart, two are seated by life's fountain. The separate ego drinks of the sweet and bitter stuff, liking the sweet, disliking the bitter, while the supreme self drinks sweet and bitter, neither liking this nor disliking that. The ego gropes in darkness, while the self lives in light. So declare the illumined sages and the householders who worship the sacred fire in the name of the Lord. May we light the fire of Nachiketa that burns out the ego and enables us to pass from fearful fragmentation to fearless fullness in the changeless whole. Know the self as Lord of the chariot, the body as the chariot itself, the discriminating intellect as the charioteer, and the mind as reins. The senses, say the wise, are the horses. Selfish desires are the roads they travel. When the self is confused with the body, mind, and senses, they point out, he seems, to enjoy pleasure and suffer sorrow. When a person lacks discrimination and his mind is undisciplined, the senses run hither and thither like wild horses, but they obey the rein like trained horses. When one has discrimination and has made the mind one-pointed, those who lack discrimination will, with little control over their thoughts and far from pure, reach not the pure state of immortality, but wander from death to death. But those who have discrimination, with a still mind and a pure heart, reach a journey's end, never again to fall into the jaws of death. With a discriminating intellect as charioteer and a trained mind as reins, they attain the supreme goal of life, to be united with the Lord of love. The senses derive from objects of sense perception, sense objects from mind, mind from intellect, and intellect from ego. Ego from undifferentiated consciousness, and consciousness from Brahman. Brahman is the first cause and last refuge. Brahman, the hidden self, is in everyone, does not shine forth. He is revealed only to those who keep their mind one-pointed on the Lord of love, and thus developed a superconscious manner of knowing. Meditation enables them to go deeper and deeper into consciousness, from the world of words to the world of thoughts, then beyond thoughts to wisdom and self. Get up, wake up, seek the guidance of an illumined teacher, and realize the self. Sharp like a razor's edge, the sages say, is the path difficult to traverse. The supreme self is beyond name and form, beyond the senses, inexhaustible, without beginning, without end, beyond time, space, and casualty, eternal. Immutable, those who realize the self are forever free from the jaws of death. The wise who gain experiential knowledge of this timeless tale of Nachiketa, narrated by death, attain the glory of living in spiritual awareness. Those who, full of devotion, recite this supreme mystery at a spiritual gathering are fit for eternal life. They are indeed fit for eternal life. Thank you so much for sitting and reading this with me today. Let me know what you think of this particular Upanishad, the Katha Upanishad, in the comments below. And if you'd like to read with me the second part of the Katha Upanishad, hit the bell so you don't miss it next week. Thank you so much for watching Dawn Vibes Yoga, and may you always be happy and free.